Now we introduce ourselves to modern Wolcottia, and once again, a reminder the Soviet Union exists, Italy also exists, the British Empire exists, Turkey has shifted from Islam to liberalism under the command of Ataturk. The Japanese are still plotting to conquer China. The world itself is moving outside of Wolcottia. Now, let me teach you a little bit regarding widespread poverty, regarding Wolcottia, and how Wolcottia adopted Vilkism. During the 1800s, feudalism in Wolcottia ended, but was replaced by a terribly mishandled capitalist economy. Wolcottia was prosperous and efficient, but only coastal urbanites truly enjoyed that success. Farmers and miners in the interior faced the end of feudalism and its replacement with malicious corporations who were motivated by state stipends, not even the profit motive. Now, even Wolcottia's democratic reforms did not improve much for the general public. Thus, Wolcottian peasants did not see the monarchy as the problem, but rather a malicious corporate and democratic system where the people they voted for sold them out. Now, when Marxists came to Wolcottia to spread their movement, it was largely unpopular. Most peasants wanted a return back to the way they had it before, not another revolution, and they blamed the death of feudalism for their misery. So they had to adapt their teachings to a new societal context. This led to an alliance between Marxists and monarchists. Essentially, Vilkism is one struggle here. You have the Wolcottian monarchist here, the communist here. Total cooperation now. Olaf Robinson. Olaf Robinson was born in 1892 in the Kingdom of Dixie to a Protestant family, often looked down by his community for his religion. Thracian community for his Protestant religion. Wanting to leave rural Mississippi behind him, he migrated to Sayatov, Gorizia in 1906 to study piano with Duke Esquintar of Gorizia. Of course, he became close friends with Serbian immigrants and converted to Orthodox Christianity during that period. During World War I, Olaf Robinson fought bravely for Wolcottia against the British, even though he was offered an exception from service due to his talented artistry. From fighting in war, Robinson took a deep interest in politics, primarily to help his Serbian brethren. He joined several social democratic, communist, reactionary, and fascist groups before becoming a Vilkist. In 1924, Olaf Robinson hosted a major Vilkist conference in the city of Izohal, organizing the ideology into a solid doctrine. He gathered together not only revolutionary socialists and communists, but monarchists and members of the Old Guard. Through the shared enemy of liberalism, he established a solid goal for Wolcottia. Now, Vilkism itself has three sets of tenets. Crown. not just monarchy, but monotheism and beauty. Folk, improving the lives of the common man. Country, loyalty to nation above region or world. One language, as a national lingua franca. One nation, loyalty to nation above region or world. And God is one, monotheism, monotheist unity backing some pluralism. Honored, blessed, and great. That is the principle of monotheism, honored by the people of Wolcottia. Now, let us witness Emperor Frederick. On January 2nd, 1927, Emperor Adam died and was replaced by his son, Frederick, on May 1st. As soon as Frederick took the throne, he abolished the democratic system and established a Wolcottia state with a royal decree. The far left and far right celebrated this occasion, with the Labour Party celebrating that the occasion is on May Day. Now let us talk about cooperation with the Robinsons, with Olaf Robinson. Cooperation with Olaf Robinson was key in legitimizing Frederick's seizure of control. Many old parliamentary aspects of the nation were restored, with the creation of a People's Imperial Senate as a national unicameral. Olaf Robinson was made into the consul, the same name as the previous equivalent of a prime minister or whatnot in Wolcottia. And during the 1920s and 1930s, now, essentially, Emperor Frederick taking the throne in Wolcottia was the celebration of the far left and the far right. They both celebrated. And they both, back then at least, approved of Emperor Frederick as a good leader, if not a great leader. And many people in Wolcottia still view Emperor Frederick the same way how many Russians view Stalin, as a leader of Russia. Now, this seemed a lot of the time, to a lot of people, as revolutionary change. The emperor paraded himself in socialist regalia, spread Western clothing, and brought modernization throughout the land, but most Wolcottians in the know viewed this differently. The closest historical equivalent is to ask, what if Atatürk was a devout Muslim? Now, let's witness examples of changes. Western clothing was mandated for all party officials, but Thracian modesty still applied. The Wolcottian language, modernized into modern standard Wolcottian in all religious liturgies of Thorac's faith, were mandated to be in Wolcottian. As religions went through independent inquisitions to root out heresy and theological liberalism. This is traditionalism, guided by the emperor, knowing when to modernize, what is sacred, and what can change. Now, the language of modern standard Wolcottian, Wolkotlanzin I Shinjarst, combined various regional dialects as well as the royal version of Wolcottian into a modern standardized language, after many people disagreed as to what language to have as the standard. Its predominant feature was the use of a Latin Cyrillic hybrid rather than the traditional Vilk On January 2nd, 1932, it was mandated for all public and government spaces especially government spaces, to be in this language. If you were to get a TV, it would be in modern standard. Whatever you learn would be in modern standard. And that way, the Wolcottian people would actually be able to understand each other no matter where in Wolcottia they're from. Now, here's some cool stuff that Olaf Robinson did. And even if you're liberal or left-wing, you'd probably appreciate it. In 1924, Olaf Robinson confronted anti-Christian sentiment within the Vilkist movement by requiring everyone to attend an Orthodox Christian liturgy before a conference. In 1937, Hitler went to Wolcottia for a diplomatic meeting. Robinson bitch-slapped Hitler on his official visit and went on a rant about how Hitler treated black people and his whole ideology of Aryan supremacy. But now we begin with the Sino-Wolcottian War. On May 1st, 1934, a member of the Wolcottian fleet attacked a Chinese fishing vessel, mistakenly believing it was a military vessel. The people who did the attacking were punished by the Wolcottians, and Wolcottia apologized to China. They were even willing to pay reparations, but the Chinese government, they got pissed and they wanted to force Wolcottia, and they wanted essentially to take Wolcottian control out of East Asia permanently. Wolcottia's goal was to force China's recognition of Wolcottian territory, not regime change in the Republic, but China insisted on conquering Wolcottian colonies throughout Asia. The Chinese unified under Li Wei, a charismatic and radical partisan who fought for what he called a perfect democracy. His actions mirrored that of the French Revolution less than 200 years before, but he used crucifixion instead of the guillotine. While most preferred his reign to Wolcottia's invasion at first, there are many stories of people fleeing to Wolcottian Formosa from Li Wei's China. And to speed up the Chinese advance in the war, the Republic of China under Li Wei sponsored a rebellion of harsh ultranationalist Japanese generals in 1937, led by Hideki Tojo. The Japanese rebels went against the wishes of the emperor and led to the massacre of various Kurshas, creating martyrs for the nation. Wolcottia's successes in putting down Japan made the war with China harder. Indeed. Now, in 1941, the Soviet Union invaded Japan and conquered Manchukuo. This led to a declaration of peace between Wolcottia, the USSR, and China over the fate of East Asia. While China remained a republic opposed to Wolcottia's interest and under the rule of Li Wei, the Soviet Union took Manchuria and Wolcottia expanded its outreach to island nations throughout East Asia. Now here's a map of Asia in 1941. Look at that. Now, after the East Asian War, the People's Kingdom of Wolcottia remained neutral in World War II due to historical grievances with the British Empire and a desire to focus on internal reconstruction. This did not stop Wolcottia from taking in Jewish refugees to settle sparsely populated South Sealandia. And it did not change the fact that Wolcottia banned bris milah, also known as circumcision. So Wolcottia's relationship with the Jewish community was insane. Now, many of these religious Jews were upset at the circumcision ban, especially because circumcision is banned in Thorax faith. And they felt it as imposing another religion's rules on them. This led to the creation of several insurgency groups to fight the Wolcottian government. Most of its materials were gotten from them, scamming the Third Reich out of equipment by convincing them that they're Aryans. So yes, the Nazis were convinced to help Jewish rebellions in Wolcottia, believing they're quote-unquote Aryans. Now, by 1942, Consul Olaf Robinson stepped down from his post while Emperor Frederick allowed for the election of a new consul. It was by no means democratic due to Wolcottia's voting system, but it allowed a new consul with genuine competition. Throughout the 1950s, Wolcottia softened and grew complacent, pushing for general peace. Now, we are basically almost done with Act 2. And we are going into a new part of our series. But until then, the Lord is the divine source of creation. He who is beyond all is beyond all. The honored, blessed, and great most powerful, most beautiful, most righteous, and most wise, for he is love itself. Most loving, for he is love itself. Amen. Amen. Amen.